The statement that stunned the White House was not issued by a senator, a special counsel, or a journalist who had been working the Epstein file for 2 years. It was issued by the First Lady of the United States, and it said the opposite of everything her husband's press secretary had been saying from the briefing room podium for the preceding 5 months. Melania Trump's April 10th statement landed at 4:47 p.m. on a Thursday. 11 sentences, no preamble, no administration framing, no coordination with Leavitt's communications team, which had been, according to 3 sources who spoke to reporters that evening, entirely blindsided by the statement's content, its timing, and the specific sentence at its center that immediately separated it from every prior White House communication on the subject. The sentence was, "Only then will we have the truth." Leavitt had been saying they already had the truth. She had been saying it from that podium since November. These emails prove absolutely nothing other than that President Trump did nothing wrong. This administration has done more with respect to transparency on Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever. It's a distraction campaign. She had said it with the flat, non-negotiable certainty of a press secretary who has received the briefing and is transmitting it. She had said it 11 times across 5 months in 4 different formulations that all meant the same thing: closed, resolved, over. Melania had said, "Only then will we have the truth." The geometry of those 2 positions, one from the podium, one from the residence, is not a nuance. It is not a difference of emphasis or framing or political strategy. It is 2 people describing the same situation and arriving at opposite conclusions about whether that situation has been resolved. One of them is married to the man at the center of it. Now, 5 months earlier, November 12th, the briefing room. The first major Epstein email release, the ones that referenced Trump, that said he spent hours at Epstein's residence with an alleged victim, that described a specific and documented proximity between 2 men whose friendship Leavitt was simultaneously characterizing as distant and incidental. Leavitt had stood at the podium for 41 minutes. She had answered every Epstein question in the same direction, away from the document's contents, toward the broader context, toward the administration's transparency record, toward the distraction narrative. Each answer was organized. Each one was delivered with the forward energy of someone who has been given clear direction and is following it precisely. The direction had come from somewhere. The question, after April 10th, was where. In January, Leavitt had praised Melania's Take It Down Act, the legislation protecting victims from non-consensual AI-generated imagery, with the specific warmth of a press secretary who genuinely admires the person she is praising. She had said the president was very proud. She had said it was a huge win for the First Lady. She had said it in the register of someone who understood that the First Lady's legislative work was among the administration's most defensible public assets and should be treated accordingly. In August, when a reporter asked whether Melania approved of the Rose Garden renovation, Leavitt had said, "She is, I believe so. Yeah, the approximation, the hedge." The specific quality of an answer given by someone who is not certain of the source's position and is unwilling to commit to a characterization she cannot verify. She had been willing to commit to a characterization of the Epstein situation for 5 months. She had committed to it 11 times. In 4 formulations, from the podium, on the record, Melania's statement did not name Leavitt. It did not reference the briefing room. It did not address any specific claim made from any specific podium. It addressed the situation, cleanly, directly, in the first-person register of a woman who had decided that something was not being said, and that she was the person who would say it. She said she had no connection to Epstein or to Ghislaine Maxwell. She said she was not a victim and had no knowledge of his crimes. She called on Congress to hold public hearings for the survivors. She said, "Only then will we have the truth." The walk from the statement's issuance to the briefing room took approximately 18 hours. Leavitt appeared at the podium the following morning at 10:47 a.m. She had been asked about Melania's statement in the pre-briefing gaggle and had said she would address it from the podium. She addressed it in the 4th answer of the morning, after questions about trade policy, healthcare costs, and a foreign policy development in East Asia. The sequencing was not accidental. The 3 questions before it were the architecture of a press secretary establishing that the briefing had a full agenda and that the Melania question was one item within it rather than the organizing event of the morning. She said, "The First Lady has always been a powerful and independent voice." She said, "Her statement speaks for itself." She said, "The president is proud of everything the First Lady does in her role." She said the word proud, the specific word she had used in January about the Take It Down Act, the word she deploys for Melania-related content, in the register of genuine, specific, documented approval. She said it this time with a quality that was the same register and different weight. The weight of a word being used to close a subject rather than to characterize it. A reporter in the third row said, "Does the president agree with the First Lady that the truth has not yet been established?" The briefing room produced the sound it produces when a question has named the specific geometry that the morning has been trying not to name. Not loud, not dramatic. The low collective intake of a room that knows it has just heard the question and is waiting to hear what happens to it. Leavitt's hands moved from the podium's edges to its surface. Flat. The repositioning that the cameras had caught before, in October, in November, in February, in the specific sequence of briefings where the Epstein questions had arrived at the point where the inventory of available responses had been reduced to its final item. She said, "The president has always supported full transparency on the Epstein matter." She said, "He signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law." She said, "The administration's record on this speaks for itself." The reporter said, "The First Lady said only then will we have the truth." The administration's record being the act of signing legislation. Does that constitute the truth she's referring to? 3 seconds. Leavitt's jaw set. Her eyes went to a point above the reporter's head that was not a camera and not another face. The specific visual geometry of a press secretary who has been given clear direction and is standing at the place where the direction ends and the next step has not been provided. She said, "The First Lady's statement is her own. I'm not going to characterize it beyond what she said. She said it once. In the register of a statement that is finished." She looked at the full room. She said, "Next question." The walk from the podium that morning took 11 seconds. Not fast. Leavitt does not leave a briefing room fast, which is itself a professional statement. I am not fleeing, I am concluding. But the pace carried a quality that reporters who had attended 300 of her briefings noted immediately in their accounts. It was the pace of someone who had been given a specific destination, the door, and was reaching it by the most direct available route. She did not look at the cameras. The split screen ran before noon. Every outlet that covered both the November briefing and the April 10th statement produced the same juxtaposition without coordination. Leavitt at the November podium. These emails prove absolutely nothing other than that President Trump did nothing wrong. Beside Melania's April sentence, "Only then will we have the truth." The split screen did not editorialize. It did not need to. 2 statements about the same situation from 2 women in the same administration, arriving at opposite conclusions about whether that situation was resolved. Trump posted that evening. He said Melania was a great First Lady and a powerful voice for American families. He said she had done more for this country than anyone in the media would acknowledge. He said the Epstein narrative was a hoax. He said it in the same post, 4 consecutive sentences, the First Lady's greatness and the hoax narrative, occupying the same field of text, separated by no acknowledgement that the 2 things he was saying were, in the geometry of what April 10th had placed in the public record, in direct contradiction with each other. The statement that Melania issued had 11 sentences. Trump's post had 9. Both were placed beside each other in threads that ran the specific language comparison, Leavitt's 5 months of podium positioning, Melania's single sentence about truth not yet established, and Trump's post that called both his wife's courage and the underlying situation a hoax simultaneously, without apparently registering the geometry of that simultaneity. The people who subscribe to this channel don't come for drama. They come for the moments nobody else is willing to show. The ones where the most revealing statement about a political situation comes not from the opposition, not from the press corps, not from the special counsel, but from the woman who lives with the man at the center of it, who walked to a desk in the residence and wrote 11 sentences that said, in plain language, what the briefing room had been working for 5 months to leave unsaid. Join them, subscribe, turn on notifications. The next truth is already on the table.